Hi there. This is my process for creating an attractive character in the Oblivion character creator, purely vanilla. And particularly today we'll be working with a bosmer female. I would also like to share some things I've learned about the Oblivion character creator and then also general character design tips. If you don't need to know those things, feel free to skip ahead straight to the character creation, but I would like to mention them in case you find them helpful. Couple disclaimers before I start. I apologize for any bad audio quality or background noise. I don't have equipment, so please bear with me. Also, like I said, I will be doing a female character today, but these tips will work great for any male characters, and they will work for beast characters, beast race characters, but I think the beast races in Oblivion are very ugly, and so you're kind of at a disadvantage. So while these tips can help, I'm not guaranteeing you're going to have a super hot one. But please let me know if you want me to make a video for how to make an attractive male in this character creator, and then how to make possibly some videos for the beast races as well. Okay, let's get right into it. First thing that I would like to go over is just some general tips for conveying what you need your character to convey, age-wise, maturity-wise, innocent versus kind of stern vibes, and making your character look more or less masculine or feminine. So the first thing that we're going to go over is if you want your character to look kind of like stern or masculine, make sure you have straight lines incorporated. And obviously this isn't a hard and fast rule, but this will help you if you have like a male character that's just not looking attractive or not looking masculine. Make sure you're incorporating like a straight brow, maybe a more triangular nose, a nice sharp jawline, or any combination of those things will work. It doesn't have to be all of those things. And then for females, rounder, more gentle lines are going to help. And again, it doesn't have to be gendered. This can also be looked at as stern versus kind of more of a curious look, but they also kind of read to the eye as masculine versus feminine. So if you want your character to look more feminine, you're going to want more round, soft shapes in the face, rounder eyes, rounded eyebrows. Sometimes a smaller, more buttony nose and fuller lips can also convey that. Additionally, elongating your character's face is going to make them look more mature. Creating a shorter face is going to make them look a little bit more youthful, particularly in the nose. If your character has a very long nose and kind of like smaller eyes, and you increase the distance between the eyes and the mouth, they're going to look older because humans, our noses never stop growing as we age. So keep that in mind. If you want your character to look younger, you can move the eyes down, make the eyes larger, and just in general decrease the space in the middle of the face, and that'll make your character look younger. A couple of things that you absolutely need to know about the Oblivion character creator is this complexion slider. It's actually a heritage slider because it completely changes the bone structure. If you take nothing else from this video, take that moving your slider all the way to the right is going to increase the femininity of the character's traits, and moving this slider all the way to the left is going to increase the masculinity of this character's traits, or rather kind of the sharpness versus kind of soft feminine stuff. If you can change skin tone in the tone tab, but so mainly I would recommend using this purely for bone structure. But there are absolutely ways to correct this terribleness that happens when you try and do a tan female character. And so I'm actually going to go with it today to show you how to do that in case you don't appreciate that they kind of back you into a corner of having your character be very fair or whatever. And then another thing, I'm kind of working as I talk to you here. Another thing that you need to know is once you have all this down, don't touch it again, because if you touch eye color, I think I'm gonna give her green eyes. Yeah. If you just so you know, I'm gonna try and make this character pretty fantastically attractive, because I don't know, I like that. But if that's not your thing, that's fine. But Once you set these, don't touch them again because they have the potential to glitch your character's face and completely ruin your progress. A lot of things in Oblivion, you're going to risk that, and so we just have to get good with happy accidents. Another thing you need to know is when you save the character, Oblivion will completely elongate their face once you save them into the game. So you always need to make your character's face way wider than you think you need it. In fact, at the very end, I always change the face width to be much larger than I need it. And then the other things you need to know about Oblivion, which I'll go more into depth on as I continue to build this character, is you do not ignore the nose Celian sliders. That's this thing right here. It affects so much else on the face. And do not ignore the color tab because it's actually not pigment. That's actually a shader tab. So it's actually going to completely change the look of your character's bone structure even after you've already used the shape sliders. So the first thing that I do is start with this page, do their complexion, do their eye color. I like to get the hair completely out of the way, so I'll pick a hairstyle that looks close to being bald. But this can be a more challenging approach because I typically, when I go back in afterwards and pick the hair, I kind of have to tweak the face to make it fit. But I like doing it this way because it lets me just purely look at the face with no distractions. So yeah, I changed the hair and the hair color at the very end, but you certainly don't have to do that. The first thing I always do, for some reason it works for me, is I change the eyebrows first. Almost always. Like, I'll skip to the eyebrows versus the face tab. Actually, for the sake of this time, I know her face is going to be too narrow and stuff, so I am going to just widen it out before I even go into the eyebrows. But usually I completely ignore this and go straight into the eyebrows unless, like, the preset that I chose is absolutely egregious. If the preset that you chose is hideous, maybe do tweak some stuff in the face tab, but don't be too heavy-handed with it because you can make it far, far worse. But the eyebrows can convey so much for the face, so I love starting with them because that's what works for me. That's what makes me happy. So I want these eyebrows to be lower, but I also want them to be closer together, and that's not an option here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the nose Celian sliders, and I'm going to make it far thinner. Look at that. Look at that difference. So yeah, that also changed the eyes. It changed a little bit of the cheekbones. So don't neglect these nose Celian sliders. All of them can be really helpful, but particularly when you want more change to the eyebrows, go into the nose Celian thin and wide slider. Another thing that I do for my process is I focus on the defining features of the face before I even bother with bone structure or like facial structure. So I do the brows, then the eyes, then the nose, then the mouth. And what I'm doing when I'm working on these is I'm not looking at the rest of the face as a whole. I don't care if the face as a whole looks great as long as I'm focusing on these smaller parts of the face. At the end, I'll make sure the whole face looks good together. But right now, when I'm doing the brows, eyes, I'm just looking at that section of the face. And then when I go on to do the nose, I'll look at just the nose, and then I'll look at, what I've done so far. Does it go together? Then the mouth, same process. So yeah, when I was doing the eyebrows just then, they may have looked derpy for the whole face, but they looked good for just the eyebrows. So that's a pro tip. Now for the eyes, I think they look quite good already. Like just looking at the eyes, if you cover the rest of the face and you just look at the eyes and you like them, keep them. In fact, I like them a lot. I may, move them just slightly further apart. And, yeah, I think that looks good. But for the sake of the tools, all of these, I use them a lot. And I actually typically will tilt my character's eyes inward because I think that looks kind of sultry. But she already kind of has a fox eye look going, and so I'm just going to keep it as it is and go straight to the nose. For the sake of this video, I actually think this is kind of a cool nose, but for the sake of this video, I want it to be pretty drastically different than how she started. So I'm going to give her a shorter, more upturned nose. And I'm actually going to start with these nose salient sliders because, again, they're so important. I want this to go deeper. And I'm going to keep looking at the front of the face, too, because that kind of gave her an angrier brow, which I'm actually not mad at. I think it looks fine. But keep looking from all angles, or else you'll end up kind of shooting yourself in the foot. That looks nice because we've added more of a dip here, but then we made it a little bit more subtle. I think that looks good. Another good tip for Oblivion is know which sliders don't affect anything else, because most of the sliders do affect other stuff, but there are some that all they do is one thing, and nose short versus long is one of those things. It just makes it shorter or longer from the side. There are a couple other tools that actually do make it shorter or longer from the side, but they affect other stuff, and I do use those sometimes if I need them. But typically, if I just want, the side profile to have a shorter nose, I'll use short versus long. I want her to have a pretty upturned nose, so I'm going to do the nostril tilt. And actually, I think I've overdone it on the nostril tilt, because if you look at this darkness under her nose kind of makes her look odd and have like a weird cat nose thing going on. So I'm actually going to lower it, because since Oblivion doesn't really affect the shading, it can look weird if you make it a little too upturned. It honestly looks even a little weird here, but I'm going to leave it because I think I can fix it. So I'm also going to use nostrils wide and thin over nostrils small and large to give her a more narrow nose, because nostrils small and large actually affects the size from this angle as well. So, but nostrils wide and thin doesn't affect anything else. So I'm actually going to just make that a bit more thin for a little elvish nose. And I'm also going to move it down. This also doesn't, that was the tilt. The tilt absolutely affects other stuff. But I'm going to move the nose itself down just to, because it looked a little off to me. And I think I actually am going to use that tilt slider to give her just a little bit more of an upturned nose. Another thing that I do occasionally use is this nose region. Where'd it go? Region concave versus convex. That can add some side profile effect. And now her nose is like a little too upturned, so I'm going to move it down. And make it a little thinner again. Okay, that looks good to me. Let's move on to the mouth. And if I'm skipping over tools and you want to know what they do, I'm pretty well versed in this. So if you just want to drop a comment, ask me a question, I'm happy to help you out more. I just don't want to waste a bunch of your time today, so I'm going to move pretty quickly. Okay, my favorite thing to use with these mouth sliders is puckered and retracted versus protruding and retracted. This is how I make the lips fuller, because it doesn't really affect the rest of the shape too much. It just kind of looks like it's making them fuller in a desirable way. But if you find that it makes them too big from the side, you use this protruding and retracted, because you'll preserve kind of the shape of the mouth this way, but pull it in more. However, I think her bottom lip is fine from the side, but I want to pull her top lip in more, and so I'll use underbite and overbite for this. Where is it? Yeah. Okay, so actually I've just pulled it all out too much, so then I'm going to go to protruding and retracted. Just pull it right back in. Another thing that I like to do to kind of add fullness to the mouth is chin distance. Make it shorter. Makes the mouth a little bit more bee-stung looking. And now since I've done that, it's kind of made it a little bit too small for my liking, so I'm going to make it a little more on the larger side. And then I'm also going to move it higher up, just for a... And she's maybe got a little bit too frowny of a look, so you could do happy or sad, or you could even do drawn or pursed to fix that. I like it a little bit sad. I think it looks a little moody, and I personally find that to look pretty nice. I'm actually going to make it even a little more puckered because I like the kind of Instagram model lip filler look. And And so yeah, her eyebrows, eyes, mouth, and nose are how I like them now. So I'm gonna move to jaw and chin now. Actually, I'll do cheekbones first. I really like this preset's cheekbones already. I think they're very nice. But I'll show you it. I don't think I'm going to touch it at all. But I do use these tools on other characters. If you change the height of the... Oh, that's chin. If you change the height of the cheekbones, it's going to make the eyes... If you make them higher, it's going to make the eyes look squintier. So if you want your character to have a squinty look, you need them to have high cheekbones. If you want them to have a kind of a sad or like wide-eyed look, lower the cheekbones. Shallow and pronounced just basically widens that region of the face or shrinks it. Thin and wide is like the same thing. A lot of it does the same thing in slightly different ways. So make sure that you experiment with the different sliders because, again, they're going to do the same things, but you'll still get a different look because they do it in different ways. The other thing is concave versus convex. I use it a lot because it's going to make their face look more sunken versus wider or like more full, like more fullness in their cheeks. A lot of these affect the whole face shape, but I kind of use them anyway and then just correct. That's another thing you need to know about the Oblivion character creator is correct as you go. If you really want a certain effect, go ahead and go for it, and then you can try and find other tools in the character creator to correct it. And then round and gone, it's supposed to kind of like add weight to the face, but it more so just changes the facial structure and makes it more square versus more soft. And I actually like that because I'm going to end up making her face wider anyway. So yeah, I'm not going to do anything else with the cheeks because I think they look really nice. And then again, look at each part of the face as an individual thing. Like, she doesn't look the best right now. She certainly looks far better. But like her jaw and chin are still very weird. But I'm looking at the cheekbones by themselves and they look good. So I'm keeping it. Now, the jaw sliders are very, very limited, unfortunately. So I would prefer to give her like a rounder, narrower jaw. But I simply can't do that with this because there's not like a jaw width slider. Well, there is, but it does the whole face. So like I can't, there's only so much I can do with it. I'll only move it very subtly because I don't want to change everything else on her face, right? So there's only so much I can do with this, but I can use the chin to compensate. So I'm going to... retracted and jutting is like whether she has an underbite or not, so I don't personally need that. In fact, we can pull her, yeah, let's pull her chin in a little bit. I think that's pretty feminine. And then the neck slope is just like how chunky it looks, so yeah. I like for my characters to have a pretty angular jaw, so I typically move it all the way low. And then the concave and convex is really the only one that truly, truly affects the jawline. And so even though this side is more round, it also moves it down, unfortunately. So this will be a sharper jawline. I don't want it too sharp. I would much rather it be a little bit round, but I am going to move it more to the convex or the concave side because I want to kind of shave off some of this like largeness to her jaw. The other thing that I'm going to do to affect the look of the jawline is if you want your jawline to look sharper, you can certainly make this chin longer. I don't think we need to do that because honestly I would much rather her have a softer jawline. So I'm going to let it be a little bit short. The other thing is chin width is also going to affect the look of your jawline. So we're going to see what happens if we make it look a little wider. I think that's pretty nice. It kind of makes things smoother down here. She's still got an oddly square jawline, but it is what it is. It's what we're working with today. Honestly, that's looking pretty good to me. But there are a lot of tools here that you absolutely can use. To show you one of them, like pronounced and recessed, kind of like moves it forward and backwards. Again, a lot of these do the same thing in a different way. Small and large is going to affect it from the side and from the front. So yeah, I think that looks nice. Now what I would do, since I've gotten all of her features like kind of where I like them, if she's still not to my liking, that's when I'll go into the face section. And I'm gonna make her face a little wider. In fact, a lot wider, because again, I want her to kind of have like a softer, rounder face, but I also want it to end up looking nice even after I save it. So I like that. I'm also gonna see if I can't kind of affect this jawline stuff with her face round or gaunt. I don't think that really helped at all. I'm sorry, heavy or light. Now let's try the round versus gaunt. Additionally, I don't think that's going to help me achieve the look that I want so with her jawline. So these two are kind of dangerous, because if you use those, they can actually be really, really helpful. But if you use it, sometimes it has a tendency to glitch everything else that you've already done. So for the sake of this video, I don't want to ruin my character. So I'm not going to use them. They actually can be helpful, but I would recommend, if you're already struggling, just avoid these and try and do it on your own. Try and affect that ratio on your own instead of using that. But overall, I think she looks pretty nice, so I'm going to go ahead and move on to the color tab, because again, that is so important. Excuse me, I'm so sorry if that hurt your ears. Honestly, I really love to start with the eyebrows for anything, because to me it just changes the face up so much. I wouldn't want to build anything on top of a face that didn't have the eyebrows I want. So I'm going to make them darker so I know what I'm working with, which that already looks really good. But so this is really the only one that changes lightness or darkness. The rest of these are focused on adding shading. So low versus high the low is going to add more kind of like hair look to the bottom. The high is just going to add highlight underneath so that they appear higher up, which I don't want to do. I'd rather her have a lower eyebrow look. Thick versus thin is going to, well, I'll just show you, because she could stand to maybe have thinner. Yeah, look at that. It makes such a difference. You're pulling the eyebrows down when you add more hair at the bottom. Here you're kind of making them straighter and more just pronounced by having them be really thin. And I think that looks really cool. It looks very elf-ish to me. So I'm going to keep that. And then notice it made them lighter. I'll just go in and darken it up again. And that works fine. That was actually too dark for my liking, because I don't know if I'm going to have her have such dark hair next time. Or not next time, when I do her hair. So the other thing is lower is going to make them like give her underbrow highlight versus darkening, like making it look more sunken. So I actually like a little highlight under the brow. Actually though, she already has a lot of arch going on, so I don't feel like I need that. And then the outer lighter dark, this can be a great way to make your character's eyebrows look more or less shapely. Because if you make the outside dark, it's going to make them look very, stronger. And then this is going to make them look a little bit like more feathered on the outsides. I kind of like this strong, darker look. So I think I'm going to go with that. Looks kind of fierce. So now that I have what I want out of her eyebrows, I'll go ahead and go into her skin. You're gonna use the beard tab for females. You need to use the beard tab for females. And you'll see what I mean in a minute. So I quite like making my characters pretty flushed, even though you take away some highlight by doing this, because again, it adds pigment, but it also completely kind of changes the shape of the face. So you add kind of eye bags when you do this, and then you take away some of that cheek highlight. So it makes her cheeks kind of look flatter. But that's fine for me, because I know that I can bring her cheeks forward again with some of the other tone tools. And so I'm going to go ahead and forfeit the cheekbone highlight, because I want her to have a nice kind of pink nose. I do use this, but I try to use it subtly because I don't think it affects the body. So I kind of like her having a fairly tanned, sun-kissed skin. These I typically will use more on characters of color because sometimes the Oblivion POC colors are a little odd, but other than that, I don't find myself using them too much unless I find that I want the skin tone to complement the eyes and hair more. She already looks nice in my opinion. I also don't typically use the cheek blush because I don't like the shape of it. So, like, it flattens out the cheeks a lot. It takes out some of the pronouncedness that I've added into her cheekbones. So I typically won't use that. I think it could certainly look cute for a different character, but I don't really like it for her on either end because it either kind of makes her look sickly. Actually, it makes her look sickly either way. But see, messing with that slider has kind of like messed with my setting in the first one. So I'm just gonna bring that redness back into her nose just a bit. Okay, the beard slider. You absolutely can give your female characters a beard with this, but you can also give them amazing highlight on their cheeks, nose, upper lip, and chin. The ones I particularly love, this is really the only one that's going to add like truly the look of a, actually they can all add the look of a beard, but even making, like, if you make this one darker, that doesn't necessarily look like she has a beard. It just kind of like makes her cheekbones look a little bit more sunken. And then same with this one. You can kind of, okay, no, that looks like a beard. But if you take it away, it's the opposite of a beard. It's a very feminine kind of like highlighted and pigmented lips look. I don't really like it though. I don't think it looks very natural. So I'm still going to keep that in the middle. This same deal, you can make it just kind of look like shadow. But again, I don't feel like I need to use that one. These three are the ones I really like for females for adding highlight. I like the mustache one because it makes the upper lip look a little bit more pronounced. If you see that, like here, it's a mustache, right? But here, you have a very highlighted upper lip, and it sort of brings it forward. It makes it look fuller. And then I also, sometimes I'll use the goatee, kind of lightens up that. Actually, that looks great on her. So it kind of lightens up this whole section of the face, and again, creates the illusion of bringing it forward. So I'm going to keep that. And let's see, because sometimes beard circle looks nice too, just to give them a little more chin. I don't think she needed that. I think her chin looked fine with the highlight of the goatee. So we won't do that any further. And then what's next? The eyes. I love their eye sliders that you have because you can make it look like they're wearing makeup, but you can also kind of just use it to make them look tired or sick, which I actually like. I think it kind of looks nice to give them a little like sick look to them. The one tip I have for this slider is only darken the eye sockets with one of these, depending on which shape looks good on the character. So if you make this dark, make this one bright, or vice versa. If you want to make this one dark, pull this one a little further out. And I think I actually liked it the other way. Yeah. I don't know if she needs all that. I might actually just kind of like leave them be, but I do use those a lot. And they affect each other, but if you keep going back and forth, you'll be able to get them to spread out even more. So it's kind of like a balancing act. You just keep going back and forth. A lot of the tools in Oblivion are that way. So I'm going to play with this again and see if I like, because this kind of highlights the tops of her cheekbones and like creates a more flat look, whereas she can have kind of more eye bags if I do it this way. I like giving her just a little bit of eye bag, because to me it makes them look larger. So I like that. I'm going to see if I want to make them look bright at all. I don't think I need them bright. Again, I'm happy with these little eye bags. I'm going to keep them. So, but if you did kind of want these two to cancel each other out, a little bit, you could, like I said, kind of fiddle with it. Eyelids light and dark is just, again, going to either make them look more sunken or like she's kind of got a smoky eye going on, or kind of add more shape and highlight it all. I think that looks nice, but it's not like subtle enough for my taste, and I typically do kind of like to put darkness around my character's eyes, just because I think that it makes them look a little bigger. I kind of like for them to kind of have a bit of a makeup look going on. I love making the eye sockets kind of like red, because again, I like that sick look, if you will. So I think that looks pretty good. It could stand to be just a smidge more subtle. And then typically if the outside of the eyes are already very dark, I'll add lightness with the eyeliner. But if that doesn't look too good, sometimes I'll experiment. With a lot of my characters, I add darkness also. That kind of looks like she's wearing too much makeup, in my opinion, so I'm not going to make it that dark. And then the eyeshadow, light or dark, typically I'll do the opposite of what I've done with the eyeliner on this. However, I kind of like that this one is lightening up the underside of her eyebrow. So I'm going to pull it to the lighter side. And then also I think I am going to add some more like bruised look around her eyes, because I want them to look larger. And again, darkness around the eyes can have the effect of making them look larger. So I kind of like have switched up here which one I'm going to use, because in my opinion, adding darker space underneath her eyes makes them look bigger. Yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with that. Lips, I honestly typically don't mess with them too much. You can have fun with it, but be careful. Don't move it too much from this middle point, because it affects like how the nose looks and the area right around the mouth looks. So again, I typically don't touch it. And then this slider, it's way more important than you think it is, because weirdly enough, it doesn't really affect the nose at all. But it does add kind of like a whole, a highlighter to the whole face. So like this kind of flattens everything, whereas this, it changes the shape. So this is going to make the face look more sunken or sickly. This is going to make it look more full all around. I typically, I don't use that one too often, because I think it looks nice somewhere in the middle. But this one is one that I really, really like, because it adds kind of like highlight to this inner cheekbone, the upper lip, the chin, and the nose. So you can see as I pull it all the way this way what it does, versus if you pull it all the way that way, it kind of like flattens everything. So I do typically pull it just, a little more than half that way. She's got a really dark under eye going, but I actually don't mind it. I think it looks pretty cute. And I don't mind her looking a little like tired and weathered. That doesn't bother me. Oh, I didn't touch her forehead at all, I don't think. Typically I do, especially because I kind of like for my characters to have a bigger forehead, so sometimes I'll tilt it more forward. I think that looks quite nice. Yeah. And so I think she looks pretty good, and I'm going to go ahead and put some hair on her. And I like to match the hair to the character versus build the character around the hair. But like I said in the beginning, you can do it the other way around. But if you do it my way, you kind of have to adapt the character to the hair. So like if I picked this one, I would have to do a lot of like drastic rearranging. But what I would do is make sure I pull the eyebrows up, pull the eyes up, pull the nose up, pull the mouth up, and then finally pull the chin up. And I would also do some adjusting with those face sliders. Those face sliders are great for adjusting at the end. That's actually really cute, but it looks stupid from the side, so I'm not going to use it. Honestly, she looks good bald because I basically created her that way. This one's nice. I I think I prefer this one for her. But as you can see, it makes her forehead look too small. And like I said before, I kind of like a Rihanna forehead. Also, don't neglect this link slider. I think it's really cool. I'm gonna do it long because I kind of like elongating her face with that. And then I'm also I want to change the color of it to, I don't know, that's kind of nice. Yeah, I'm not going to spend too much time choosing her. Ooh. No, I don't like that. Sorry. She looks good in a lot of them. Sorry, normally I don't, I'm going to go with the light brown, sorry. So I'm going to show you how to like slightly adapt your character's face to your hair by moving some of her features down to create a larger forehead. The other thing you can do is just go straight into the forehead slider and make it taller, which that worked quite well for me. But if it doesn't work well enough, you can certainly pull the rest of the features down. I don't think I need to do that because I think this actually looks quite good. But if you have a hair that doesn't really fit, there are absolutely ways to do that. And if you need guidance, just ask me in the comments. Okay, I like how she looks. I'm actually not going to widen out her face anymore because I do feel like she would look good with a narrower face than this. But if you like your character exactly as they look when you finish, then you're going to go into this face and make it wider. I don't think she needs that personally because I think she'll look good with a narrower face. Hopefully I haven't misjudged. In fact, I think I'll make it just a little bit wider just in case because it's better safe than sorry because Oblivion does drastically squish the face from side to side and elongate it vertically. So I'm happy with this. I'm going to go ahead and give her a name so that I can show you what I'm talking about with this the way Oblivion affects your character. So let's name her Sally. And finish. And then when we check her out using the journal, you can see it's drastically changed her face. It's made it so much longer. And I could have stood to pull the chin down just so that the squareness of the jawline wasn't so harsh. Now that I'm looking at her in game, and so that's something that I might edit if this was a character that I was going to play with. But I think that she looks pretty good. But yeah, you really need to be thinking about the fact that Oblivion is going to super egregiously elongate your character's faces. Alright, well that's all I have for you today. Like I said, leave a comment if you need more help or if you want me to do men or do beast races. I hope you found this helpful, and that's all from me.